but I think, yeah, like, PPC, what I came into 10 years ago is totally evolved. And if you don't stay skilled and learn the new stuff, you're not going to stay ahead. Like, do you think it's going to be more of a cutthroat market with that in mind?
Yeah, and I think you also have to be careful of the big players that control everything. So on
Mm.
Amazon, one of the reasons I got out of Amazon is they controlled everything. They could shut me down, they could change their algorithm and all of that. And you have to think about that in all aspects of our business because so many people are dependent on Facebook ads or Google SEO or whatever it is. And one quick change shakes up the whole program. And there's no way that you can protect yourself from everything. At some level, you probably want to be running Facebook ads, you want to be doing different things, but you never want all your eggs in one basket, and you have to prepare for change. You can't just be running 95%, or get 95% of your revenue through Facebook ads and be like, oh, I figured it out. You got to have those backup things in place. And I think even just a thing like this with Corona, where something comes out of the blue and shakes it up, I think is a wake up call, not just for that and working remote, but just across the board, that you need to have certain contingencies in place and you sometimes have to be preparing for the worst. And one last thing, my business partner, Connor, super optimistic guy. I tend to be a little bit more pessimistic, not in the sense of like, woe's me or my life sucks or anything like that. More in terms of business, I always assume that like the worst thing will happen, which I think complements each other very well because he's always looking for great opportunities and the best thing that can happen. And I'm always trying to protect the business from everything that I view as a threat, which I feel like from a business side, that's a good way to go about it. Probably not that great from a stress side.
We'll call it practical. Let's call it practical as opposed to pessimism. I think that's a nicer
Right. I
term
think
to
you're
use,
right. That's a
right?
better word.
But you need, yeah, I guess, look, you guys have been business partners for over a decade, right? So you need that yin and yang to complement. And, without you, he wouldn't be where he is, and likewise. So, well, that's interesting. Let's talk about that too. Like finding people to jam with and collaborate with. How important is that from your journey? And do you think people should be searching that out if they find the right person?
Yeah, I mean, having a business partner is super tough. It's something that takes a lot of time and effort. And for me, I kind of use what I try to get in a business partner, or really anyone that I work with, is I want them to have the same core values and beliefs. I believe in sharing ideas. I believe in treating people well. I believe that if you make a mistake, you should own up to it and do everything possible to fix it and not blame other people. And I believe in problem solving and thinking logically and working quickly. And if I can't, if the person I want to work with is really talented, but they don't have those same core beliefs, it's not going to work out. It's going to lead to a lot of frustration on one side. And it's not that I'm right or they're wrong or either one of those. It's just about working together for that common goal. But I want them to have the exact opposite skill sets. I mean, outsource school doesn't need 4 Nathan Hirsches. Outsource school needs 1 Nathan Hirsch, and then needs a lot of other people that are good at all the things that I'm not good at, which is a lot of things. I mean, the average entrepreneur is only good at 1 to 3 things, their core competency, and you want to hire people that have those beliefs, that can do all those other skill sets, and they have to be willing to work on the relationship and make it better and better over time. I mean, I remember Connor and I, one of our worst business decisions that we made was getting an office around year 4 or 5 of the Amazon business, and cost a lot of money, added a lot of overhead, was a terrible decision. And it doesn't really matter who wanted it, who didn't want it. Like, we both agreed to it together, and it took a little bit of getting over that, because up to that point we had only seen success. And it's really easy to have a business partner when all you're doing is winning. It's when something goes wrong and you lose a lot of money or you make some bad decisions that you really figure out, hey, can I overcome that and work with this person long term?
And I think in this game, it's like you're going to fail probably on the daily and make decisions that don't always work. And I suppose it's getting comfortable with that lack of comfort, which is tough for some people. How do you do you have like any processes or mindset kind of tips or hacks that you use for dealing with just that day to day, knowing that something is going to come and bat you back?
Yeah, I mean, the one rule that we have is you can never go back and say, oh, but like this was your idea. Like once we agree to move something or move forward with something, like it's ours together. It doesn't matter what we thought about it before. So that is totally out the window. And then the second thing is looking at everything like a problem. So the way that I solve problems in life and business is I gather all the information, I see what resources I have available, I figure out what are the different options for a plan. I pick a plan, I execute that plan using the resources. And once we've executed that plan, the step that everyone forgets is put steps in place so that exact same problem can't happen again. So if you follow that, and every time you have a down, you go through that process, you're going to end up on top 9 out of 10 times. And I guess the other part of it is when you're a young entrepreneur, you kind of have those highs and lows, right? When you're doing great, you think you're on top of the world, no one can touch you. When you're doing low, you think you're going to become homeless and go bankrupt. And then
Sure.
as you get deeper into being an entrepreneur, that line starts to get a little bit more level. And the highs, you're like, okay, we're doing good. Let's keep this momentum going. And the lows are more like, okay, this is a problem. We're going to solve it. Let's figure out how to solve it.
And I guess when the highs are there, you can be practical about knowing that the lows are going to come again at some point, and you can kind of just have contingencies for that as best as possible, right? Which is
Right.
key.